Sci-Spi.tv, creators of a new genre, Sci-Spi, merging science and spirituality, along with a revolutionary new interactive format so that you can virtually engage in our global adventure around the globe and into the cosmos. Featuring world-renowned authors, speakers, and experts in many fields. Sci-Spi TV proudly presents Dr. Sasha Lessin, author of Anunnaki, Gods No More, and producer of the hugely popular website, EnkiSpeaks.com. Sasha studied with the late Sasha Lessin, translator of the Sumerian clay tablets, for many years. Mr. Sitchin asked Lessin to create popular internet, book, and college-level courses to revise ancient anthropology. Dr. Lessin teaches us that the people of the ancient world described the gods as giant humans with what we would call Tesla technology, spacecraft, weapons of mass destruction, and interplanetary travel charts. The tale that these gods created us is true, he says, but they weren't gods. They were just big people. Sci-Spi TV is honored and privileged to announce that Dr. Sasha and Janet Kira Lessin will be hosting a show on our brand new network called Aquarian TV. Enjoy the Sci-Spi sneak peek featuring Dr. Sasha Lessin. We join the interview as Dr. Lessin is explaining to me how Enki, Enlil, and Ninmah came to planet Earth from the 12th planet Nibiru to mine gold they needed for their ozone. When they arrived, they discovered Homo erectus, proto-humans, and genetically altered them to create Adam and Eve.
That's what Homo erectus is. That's what Bigfoot is. They're, proto-human. And so Enki saw, he got a lab down in Zimbabwe, and he was amazed at what Bigfoot's ancestor, Homo erectus, was doing, which was letting animals out of his traps, communicating telepathically, and he said, we could really use some of those. We are so cold and unempathetic. If we had some of that, we'd do a lot better. And so he manufactured this whole thing. He got the miners who would say, we'll save the planet, we'll work in the mines. And so after several decades in the mines eating dirt and so forth, they wound up, they were ready for mutiny. And so Enki said, hold back the gold, because they were shipping the gold up the Persian Gulf and transshipping it to Mars and then taking it to Nibiru and turning into monoatomic gold, and they were actually plugging the hole in the ozone. And so Enki's, and we have to keep the gold going, but the miners are revolting. What should we do? Well, of course, Enki made them revolt. Said, I'll get you out of here, boys. And so just withhold the gold, and the commander, Enlil, Yahweh, came down to see what was going on. They surrounded him. And just when everything was going to be a crisis, Enki says, wait, we don't have to have this violence. I've got a solution. There are creatures here that have some of the enough basic genetics that we can use some of their genes plus our genes, and we'll make slaves that'll do what we say, and they'll be smart enough and they won't complain and so forth. And so they made, first of all, a clone, the Adam, and the successful zygote with their with the Anunnaki sperm and eggs from a Bigfoot ancestor, I'll just say Homo erectus woman, and they implanted it in Ninmah, the chief medical scientist. She wanted to run the risk herself, so her mitochondrial DNA went into making the atom, and so and then they decided they make a female clone also. But Ningishita, who was the son, one of his Egyptian name is Thoth, most people know him that way, but Ningishita discovered the X and XY chromosome, and he, on his own, with his team, made the first female, whose name was Tiamat. They made her fertile, and the commander heard about this pair of supposed clones and said, well, bring them out from Africa to your place in Basra. It was called Edam then. That's on the entrance to the Persian Gulf. And so I can take a look at them. And by now, Enki and Nimma just love these children. They were their children. They said, well, we're going to come up there and take care of our kids. We're not going to just leave them up there. And Nimma was a botanist, and so she planted all kinds of psychedelic plants and marijuana and DMT producing plants in her garden and so forth. And so Tiamat did DMT and marijuana and made love with Adam, and she was pregnant. By the time when the commander came over to see these kids, she's this pregnant teenager, and she walks right up to him and said, hi, look what I made. I made this thing, and I made this table, and see, I'm trying to figure out how you can make triangles into, and she was doing all, and he was, and the commander's aghast. He says to his name's Enlil or Yahweh, he says to Enlil, you've exceeded your authority. I said you can make clones. I didn't say you can make things that breed, and get these creatures out of here. They're supposed to, you want them to breed, send them to Africa and make mine slaves. And so, okay, so they made mine slaves, they bred like crazy, and after a while, things got bad on Earth again. One of the passes of Nibiru through the inner solar system led to the destruction of Mars base. Great big stones were falling on Mars base and made crops dry up. And the slaves started saying, what are we working for the gold for? We're not getting enough food. We already know how to make food. And they went off in the African bush and created their own societies and so forth. And so the commander said to the chief scientist, Enki, listen, make better slaves that'll obey us more. And Enki said, oh, okay, this is about 200,000 BC. The initial Tiamat and Adamu were created about 300 BCE. Okay, so this is now 200 BCE, and Enki knows just the way to make better slaves. He finds two of the most beautiful girls, and he makes a baby with each of them. And one of the babies was named Titi, and the other was named Adapa. And Enki and his wife Damkina raised these kids. And Adapa was a genius. He had his own plane. He was trained to run all the slaves and to make everything work. And the king of Nibiru, Anu, said, "Send him to me. I want to see this guy." And so this is Adapa. And in the meantime, Enki realized Enlil was going to make sure that the slaves did not realize that there was now hundreds of thousands of slaves, and there's only 900 Anunnaki on Earth. He wanted to make sure that they didn't overwhelm the Anunnaki, which they easily could with their numbers. And so he had created the Society of the Snake, which was Adapa, and selected people to have the real knowledge of who they were, where they came from, and to use the scientific knowledge that Enki was the master of.
Stay tuned for the full interview on Sci-Spi TV, an internet TV network that will rock your world. Coming this fall.